Hi, and welcome to this week's edition of the Nasty Nelson Pickleball News Asia podcast. This week we are going to be diving into an issue that has cropped up in Malaysia. But before I get into that, if you like what we do and would like to see more of it, please do either like the video or subscribe to the channel, or do both. It would be very much appreciated. So getting back onto the topic for this week, we're going to really focus in, as I mentioned, on Malaysia. And there was an issue that cropped up asking some questions about the Malaysia Pickleball Association. So that is the official governing body of the sport in Malaysia. So there was a post on social media from a concerned local pickleball player, which I'm reading from here. As members of Malaysia's growing pickleball community, I think it's fair that we ask some honest questions about how things are run, not to attack anyone, but to keep the sport we love on trust and fairness. Okay, so what this was to do with was actually to do with some web portals that the Malaysia Pickleball Association has been working on and has launched with a view to supporting certain activities, pickleball activities in the country, mainly around tournament play. But what happened was this particular person also set up a petition to ask for transparency. So let me just give you some details on the petition itself. So the petition is an online petition for Malaysian pickleball players, which is titled Transparency and Accountability in the Malaysia Pickleball Association's Digital Systems. And let me just read as quick as I can the main points here. The issue as outlined for this petition: Malaysia Pickleball Association's official systems are privately controlled by an external vendor with hidden domain ownership, unclear data custody, and possible conflicts of interest. We demand full transparency, compliance with Malaysian law, and accountability from the MPA, Malaysia Pickleball Association Committee. So just to go into, I won't read it all, but there's a couple of portals that Malaysia Pickleball Association have launched, which in both instances are looking for sign-ups. Some are sign-ups from players to get access to the full portal system. Others are sign-ups from tournament organisers or other commercial companies that work in and around making tournaments happen in Malaysia. And the issue that they've got is that those sites are not owned and controlled by Malaysia Pickleball Association. They are owned and controlled by a private company who is listed as the official technical partner and custodian of all information and data. That's where the problem lies. So that particular company, according to the association's website, is the custodian and keeper of all information and data and technical infrastructure, may terminate user access at any time, and all this data is processed by this third-party company. So the issue is, there's some questions. One, it's thought that the current acting chairperson of Malaysia Pickleball Association is connected by family to the owners of the company that are listed as the official technical partner. Now, I have no idea if that is true, but I believe that is the question. Well, I not believe it's in here. That's the question that's being asked. So there's obviously an allegation being leveled. So to be very, very clear, I have no idea if there's any truth in that allegation, but that's what's being alleged. And of course, if that is the case, it would have needed to be declared publicly in minutes of the meetings of the committee of the MPA, because obviously there are potential for conflict of interest if that is the case. The other problem with this, which is quite nicely articulated in the petition, is that there's some risk there, because if MPA does not own the technical infrastructure, does not own the URLs for its site, and does not control the data, then there is potential for the third-party private company to hold the sports association to ransom, in a way, by, if there was a breakdown in the relationship, saying, well, you don't own any of this, it's ours. And apparently that's actually happened in other Malaysian sporting bodies. Again, I don't know that for a fact. I don't know that it's happened, but in this petition, that's again what's alleged. So what they're just asking for is full transparency on this issue and on this matter. So my take on this is that it seems like a fair thing to ask for that level of transparency. There are things that that could cause problems should some of this be true. So when I look at it, I can see a couple of sides here. You know, let's say that the allegations are absolutely correct, and that, you know, there is this link between the company and committee members on the MPA. You know, I have no particular axe to grind here. It could have been done for absolutely genuine reasons. You know, it could have been done on a no-fee basis. Could have been done as a quick and cost-effective way of just getting some systems done quickly, with the absolute best intentions from everyone concerned. You know, I'm certainly not suggesting otherwise, but the issue is on two things. One, it's the optics. So even if it was done with the very best intentions, if it's not totally transparent, then the optics just look bad and people are going to ask these questions. So hence the petition itself, fair enough, because to get clarity would be good. I think the other thing is, even when things like this are done with the best intentions, if they're not done properly, and if there is the potential for conflict of interest down the line, even if the intentions are absolutely above board, when the potential for conflict of interest exists, if things go wrong at some point in the future, some breakdown between the private company and the association, the issue is that could be very, very bad for the association, and by extension for pickleball in the country, in Malaysia. So it's really important that any issues like this are made very, very open, and that the correct processes and guidelines and guardrails are put in place to make sure that everything that is done in the name of the MPA is the property of the MPA. No matter who the guardians, custodians and committee members are, it should make sure that these infrastructures that are set up remain with them no matter what. Then, of course, by the same token, when there is this potential for conflict of interest, people also look at other things like, you know, whether, like, from a financial perspective, everything is above board, whether things are being done for the right reasons or not. And again, I have no insight or opinion on this, only to say that the optics look bad, and it's something that must be regulated and looked at to make sure that there are no financial implications from any relationships that need to be declared. So if you're interested, we will put the link to this petition in the notes so that you can take a look and read it for yourself and just try and understand what's going on. So when I look at the online complaint and the petition that led to me trying to delve into this a little bit, what it's got me to do is look a little bit more closely at what is happening with the digital systems that MPA are putting together. And I registered, went into the players portal, saw some of the things that are there. There's they've created a portal where it will do things like track your performance, track training programs, and then also links to a social media kind of feed, which is called the Pickle Zone. And I worry about a few things there. One, there's a lot of things to keep track of there, and it's already happening. The systems, and this happens in not just pickleball, but every sport and almost every walk of life. The systems to do these things are already there and already happening. They evolve commercially. And this portal is already behind the curve, trying to do what's already happening. We have plenty of ways to track stats, track training, track results. There are commercial companies that are already making that happen. And then the social feed is kind of very basic, and I think doesn't really add anything to other social feeds that may already exist out there. So again, that leads me to understand why people may be asking questions, because it's like, what's the motive for building all this stuff when it's questionable how useful it will actually be. But to be clear, I have no opinion or accusation here. The motives may be absolutely sound. They may very well be trying to do a bunch of things to really build community and everything else. But again, the transparency question needs to be answered so that people can at least be clear that their motivation is really genuine. But my concern there, having drilled into it a little bit, is it's a mistake that a lot of associations and sometimes government divisions as well do, where they try and reinvent what's already out there, whereas really the way to go is to endorse and embrace what's happening kind of generically and virally. Support the platforms that people are already on and using, because those are the ones that work, and those are the ones that people like. And so what an association should do should just endorse, support, build relationships with those platforms and leverage them to their advantage, rather than trying to build a technical infrastructure that will always be behind what the commercial companies are already doing. So that being the case, I guess where this leads me to is to say, in terms of the question asked and the question raised by the petition, I think it's good questions. I don't see it as finger pointing, but I do think it will be really good for MPA to address those questions head on. That's the best way to deal with it. Show that transparency and show that the motives are absolutely spot on and you're trying to do the right things. But my other feelings, based on what I've looked at just by drilling in because of this issue, of course, they're more personal to me. Other people may disagree with it and think what they're doing there is really worthwhile. But personally, I feel that less time spent on trying to build this ecosystem and more time on doing grassroots development through programs with, again, developing talented players, and publicizing it on these digital platforms is really the way to go. So ultimately, as a player in Malaysia, even though we cover all of Asia, of course I play in Malaysia, ultimately my support is and will be with the MPA, where I, as a player, can help. I want to support what they're doing as much as possible, but I also think the feedback is really important, and because so many people are passionate about this sport, it's a hard job for MPA to please everyone, but they should listen to some of these big concerns and try and put them right. And take feedback from not just me, but the kind of things that I'm saying, to see if they can really focus in on the things that would really help them truly hit the missions that they've outlined on their portal. So with that, I'm going to bring this week's Nasty Nelson podcast to an end. Again, if you like what we do, please do like and subscribe. And if you want to keep up with anything pickleball related in Asia, please do check us out on pickleballnewsasia.com.